Okay, we're ready to go. Good evening, everybody, once again. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Welcome to TechUp 1.0, the maiden version of our
Yeah, good
TechUp
evening.
webinar series. Yes, you're welcome. I was saying, welcome to TechUp 1.0, the maiden series of our TechUp webinar series. Part of what we intend to achieve with this is to give us the up-to-date information of what's going on around the world, around tech and career generally, so that we can be abreast and aware of what's going on around the world, and in most cases to also bring up informative discussions that can help every one of us grow as um, people and as Africans generally. Okay, so we have Tech Up 1.0, and this is the first version. I'm so happy this is kicking off. It's been a vision that we had for a long time now, and having this evening. I'm really, really excited. And for every one of you that are here, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for making it down to this place. Okay. All right. This evening there's a lot to do. I believe that our executive guest speaker is fully loaded with a lot to talk about this evening, and I'm just going to let us give us a few things, just say a few things about us, educator generally, what we do, who we are, what we are hoping to achieve, and then so you can get to meet us, and then we'll take it up with our guest speaker. Okay, so if you got that clearly, can everybody hear me, please?
Loud and clear, sir.
Great. Thank you very much for that response. Thank you. All
Yes,
right.
we can hear
So
you, sir.
thank you. Yes, so this is Tech Up 1.0, and our emphasis for this program is upskilling for the digital age. Things that we hope to discuss is issues like how AI is reshaping workplaces for tomorrow's challenges. You and I will both agree that if you're here, you pretty much will agree with me that a lot is going on around the world with artificial intelligence and posing a lot of threats down from COVID-19. Like there was this wide awakening from that COVID-19 down to date, right? Of how AI is invading. By AI now I mean artificial intelligence. Of how artificial intelligence is invading a lot of things, automating a lot of tasks, replacing a lot of jobs, and all of that. And the need for people to also upskill and just upgrade so that they can meet up with this competition. Should I call that a competition? I don't think it's a competition. I just think that people need to evolve at this point in time instead of dragging tasks with computers, right? So today we'll be talking about how AI is reshaping workplaces for tomorrow's challenges. There are some with every with every revolution with every revolution there tends to be like different kind of challenges that are being introduced. When it was pretty much like when we are in the agrarian age with agriculture, there was not much to think about. There was not a lot of things to think about. It was like go to farm, have your crops, get as much land as you can get, maybe have as much children, male children most precisely, like have as much children, male children as you can have, so that they can farm your land and maybe get you stuff. But the moment we move from that agrarian age to the industrial age, you know that they started being new challenges like how do I get a skill to be employed by companies? How do I get this skill? How do I know how to operate this and all of that? When computers came to, people had to also evolve and start upgrading to computers. So a lot is going on right now, and everyone will have to start thinking of evolving so that we can remain relevant. You would agree with me that it's no longer the whole doctor, lawyer, accountant kind of profession. You know, in Africa, if you are not a some years ago, like maybe a decade ago, if you're not a lawyer, doctor, or an accountant or an engineer, probably you don't have a career. You're just, if you studied political science, just move, stay out of. If you studied mass comm, just know that it's because they didn't give you admission on the course that you're interested in, so they just move you to mass comm. You get like it was like that before, but right now you can see that it's no longer about this professional fields anymore, like the lawyer, doctor, and medical, medical doctor. accountant and stuff. So AI is changing a lot of things. There are new professions being introduced right now, like content creator, and who would even believe that content creator can be a career now? Career. So we'll be discussing how AI is reshaping workplaces for tomorrow's challenges, and we are going to be talking about charting the course for a future of innovation and efficiency. Okay. Now, this webinar series, being the maiden version of TechUp webinar series, is hosted by educator. Okay, so we're talking about upskilling for the digital age, and this is powered by educator. Who is educator? Educator is just a group of young people with young minds that are hoping to do big things. Okay, I think, can I say we are being foolish enough to think that we can do something really big in such a way that it will affect the world and change the way the world works generally. Okay, so that's it. This is the thing we are obsessed about, like the problem we've seen as educator or as an organization. The first problem we've seen is this, that over 65% of the jobs that we prepare students for in elementary schools don't exist anymore. And this statistics is direct from the World Economic Forum. So you can see that a lot of our children going to school right now, majority of them might just come out, and by the time they come out, the skill they've acquired from school would not even be existing anymore. They won't be able to apply it to a real life challenge. And probably a few of us here might be able to relate to that. Um, Personally, by the time I was done with school, it was difficult finding a niche for myself because I just felt like, how can I apply everything I've learned, all the projects we wrote, all the exams, like, how can I apply it to real life in such a way where I'm solving a problem to earn from or to make a living from, right? So a lot of people are within this place. 65% of the jobs we prepare students for in elementary school don't exist anymore. The second challenge is, even if you were in a career line where the job that you're being prepared for does exist, the next challenge that this might pose, let's just go to the next slide. The next challenge is that nearly 50% of the knowledge you acquire, let's just assume that maybe you are in a field where your job still exists, right? Nearly 50% of all the knowledge you acquire in a 4-year degree course will be outdated by the time you graduate. That's how fast the world is changing. So by the time you graduate, you need to also upskill or reskill yourself again to become relevant. You can't just have a BSc and say, oh, I have a BSc, so I'm fine. And a lot of people, out of this frustration, fought to being entrepreneurs. For some people, it works for them by because obviously some of the top entrepreneurs in the world are dropouts, right? For some people, it works for them. For some other people, it's still a struggle, even in entrepreneurship, because they just can't find themselves, find a place. Why? Because everything they've learned has become outdated and they will need to upskill themselves. So this is the problem that we have seen as educator, and thinking about this made us obsessed about these three facts. First off, technology is doing a lot. Second, innovation is changing the way things work. Thirdly, the industry we're talking about is education. So, technology, innovation, education. Now, our obsession is this: how can we channel the power of technology to innovatively create a solution for the educational sector? That's our obsession as educator. So all we're thinking is, what can we do with technology to hello, can you hear me, or can you all hear me, please?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Great, thank you very
Yes,
much.
we can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so I'm saying that what we started being obsessed about when we saw all of these statistics and stuff is that what can we do? What innovative thing can we do with technology to reduce this burden in the educational industry? Okay, so this is the obsession and the goal of educator. This is the problem we are trying to solve every day. Like, we're thinking, is there an innovative thing we can do with technology in the educational industry to help people in this fast changing world and stuff? So pretty much we have that. Now we came up with a solution, threefold solution. First off, we talked about a service. Secondly, a platform. Thirdly, a software. And I should also mention this, that Educator didn't just, it's not a recent idea that we've had. Educator has been in works all the way from 2019. if I'm correct. 2019, over 4 5 years now that I've been working on bringing this to you. So, but what we're thinking of when we started was we're thinking about a platform and a software and stuff. We're thinking about all of these really complex things and building that it was going to actually cost a lot. So for finance and all of that, and for lack of a lot of things, we're just postponing it again and again. But then there's something that then struck us. It was this: start from where you are with what you have. And the person who actually made this very, very evident to me is the person who is going to be talking to us today. Some time ago, I think some 2 years ago or so, he said, Matthew, start from where you are with what you have. So that's where this came out. So if we're thinking about building a multi-million platform where people can actually where we can make learning really, really easy, then we might as well start by maybe offering services. Okay, so we started from the service, and this is what we are doing right now, and our service includes training. Okay, so we are in the crude way that we can with the crude technology that we have at the moment. We are offering our service. We are doing our best to change the world before we can afford to change the world at the scale that this can afford and this can also afford. But eventually, we hope that by offering this service and making and bringing learning to your doorstep, we eventually hope, let's get this back to where we were before. We hope that we can power a platform where we will not just be the only ones doing it, but we are going to enable other people who have skills out there, trendy skills out there, to also bring education to your doorstep. Okay, and we can also create a software that will bring everyone together, both the trainers and the trainee together, in such a way where learning will not be a thing, it will not be so difficult or expensive anymore. And that is going to happen very, very soon. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So, this is our solution right now. So at the moment of in this process of building, we are here and we are doing the best that we can at this level to bring awareness to everyone that we can reach, and also to bring knowledge to everyone that we can meet. We have courses, we have communities of people that we once in a while offer free training to, just to help people upgrade. We have I think by the end of this meeting we'll be sharing the link to the community if you want to be part of our community and all of that. We have this webinar series that is coming to you live, and it's going to be very informative and transformative also. So you see, we're doing the best we can as a service company. Now, this is our goal. Our goal is to make education, number one, simple. Okay, it's like we aim to simplify this concept, like the concept of the skills, the concept surrounding every skill that that we hope to train people on and help while helping people to evolve in this age. Okay, we hope to make the concepts as simple as possible. That's the first goal that we have. Secondly, we hope to make education as accessible as possible. And the last thing is we hope to make education as personal as possible. In fact, part of the things that we do in Educator is, for instance, if you're an accountant and you're coming to Educator, we try as much as possible to tailor every of our instances and everything to what we know you have experience in. Like our tests, our assessments, our instances, everything. We try to tailor it to your field so that it's something you can relate with. Because just imagine we're using medical terms to teach an accountant. It's going to be a very long learning curve, right? So our goal is to, as much as we can, to the best of our ability, make education, whatever you're learning, as personal to you as possible, so that learning can be simple. Okay, and then accessibility is a goal. Everyone should be able to access education. Education is supposed to be a fundamental right for everyone. Okay, so everyone should be able to access this. So this is the goal of Educator: to make education simple, to make it accessible, and to also personalize it to the best of our ability. So much that even if it was a child we're training, the child will also understand what we are saying. All right. So now, to achieve this goal of simplifying education and to making it accessible and personal, we have three different packages. We have the one-on-one package where we train people one-on-one, like the word implies, like you and your instructor. That way we can bring it to the barest minimum, we can bring it to your experience, we can come down to your level and pick you and also deliver this concept to you. Secondly, we have corporate, and of course this is for organizations, companies, industries, churches, mosque, wherever the organization is, so long as they are interested in upskilling. Lastly, we have bootcamp. This is our group package where we have a group of people, like where we train people in group, in small group, in small group, so that we can be able to administer knowledge to everyone and provide support to everyone as much as we can. These are our packages basically. And lastly, we have these courses. At the moment, we have been able to we are pulling off things within these areas: cybersecurity, business intelligence, data analysis, data science, machine learning, cloud computing, graphics design, UI UX, and there are more still loading, like mobile application, web development. Sorry, I think mobile app development, web development, and the likes. Okay. So, guys, this is who we are. This is what we do, and thank you very much for listening to my long, almost boring, but I hope you get the point. All right, are we still together? Have I lost everyone?
Yes, sir.
You, sir.
All right, thank you very much for listening to this. So today,
Sir,
without wasting, yes, can you all hear me? Thank you. Okay, so today, without wasting our time, a speaker that is going to be speaking to us about this person has actually played a very pivotal role in my told you that he was the one who said, start from where you are with whatever idea you have, start from where you are with what you have. Just start and just keep moving. Okay. And that's how Educator is here today. I respect him so much. So we're talking about the person of Mr. Akande Jacob. Mr. Akande Jacob is a network engineer, and currently he's a technical consultant with with Cisco, all the way from Lisbon. We are bringing this man to the international man like this. The man is full. If you have your notes, if you have questions, if you have whatever, this is your guy. I trust that within this next few minutes that he'll be talking to you, this next few minutes is going to like drastically change how you your career generally in tech and in whatever you do, and that you will learn a lot. Okay, so put your emojis together. I wanted to say put your hands together, but we're not in a live meeting. So put your emojis together as we invite the person of Akande Jacob all the way from Lisbon.
hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I
we
can
can
hear
hear
you, sir.
you.
Yes, we can
Welcome,
hear
Oh,
Mr. Akonde. God bless you.
oh,
We can
great.
hear you, sir. You're highly welcome, sir.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Welcome, Mr.
Um,
Akonde.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind welcome or the warm welcome. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Once again, it's good to be here. I'll try as much as possible to be myself so that I'm not sounding overly official. official. Um, and just allow me to, cause I don't have any slides prepared um like my brother Matthew. I'm going to just turn on my camera for a little while, and then maybe if I can get to convince Matthew to help us put up one of those slides, just so the screen doesn't look boring to everybody. You're not just hearing just voices, right?
We like your
Yeah.
face, sir.
So no, no, no. I'll actually want to convince you if you don't mind. Uh, okay. Well, so a good place to start would be, who am I? What do I do? Why am I here? And
Hmm?
before we jump into what we'll be talking
You
about
don't go.
tonight, right?
Okay, let's go now.
Um, okay, so Wisdom John, you're saying something? Okay. Yeah, so Jacob
Oh,
Akande.
sorry, I was not saying anything. It was a mistake, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, no, no, it's fine. I just thought you were saying something to me. So my name is Jacob Akande.
So wait, you are in an hotel on your birthday.
Yeah, I'm not in a hotel if that was meant for me. All right. So yeah, I'm Jacob Akande, technical consulting engineer with Cisco Lisbon specifically. I'm a Nigerian. I'm from Kogi State. What else? I'm from a family of five, fourth child, first son. That's too much information. But I'm trying to assume you're asking me this information. I mean, you're asking me who are you in an interview, right? And then I'm giving you an answer. I studied metallurgical and material engineering in school. I'm doing this intentionally because we'll come back to it. Studied metallurgical and material engineering in school. I, I I've never used it for anything, right? Nobody has ever asked me for my certificate until I'm doing documentation with them after they employ me. Yeah, what else? I fell in love with tech pretty early, but then there was no pathway to go, right? And then the lowest hanging fruit for me at the time was Cisco Technologies, right? So ABU Zaria, that's the school I attended, of course, had this Cisco Networking Academy, and they, for some reason, for every time I walked past the academy there was just an attraction, right? I just felt like something was pulling me to go in. And I went in to check. I realized I like what they're doing, even though I didn't know what they were talking about. So I just decided to register. And I just knew what they were saying was how machines interacted with each other. I didn't know what switches were. I didn't know what routers were. I didn't know jack about tech or networking, right? I went in, registered my final year in school. Then all through my service year, I was traveling between Katsina and Zaria, right, to attend the training. I think I did that pretty much because of how inconvenient it was. I did that for about for the entire service year, and then it bled into after service year before I could finish the Cisco CCNA program. I don't know if you guys know what that means. And afterwards, I didn't know what to do with the certification. That's another stage in your tech journey that can be really funny and weird. I didn't know what to do with it. When people ask you to apply for job, you're not sure what you look at the requirements for the job, and then you don't see anybody really saying that they are looking for, the only thing they are looking for is CCNA, right? And that's what you have with your tiny little degree, right? And yeah, so I'm a Christian, and almost everything I do around me I attribute to God. But then I'll try to be as straightforward as possible, just so to give you the natural or secular world equivalence of what I'm talking about. So I know that I desired so much, and I wasn't ready to take an alternative, right? I desired so much to work in tech, to do tech related stuff. And every other time that, I mean, I had people who were encouraging me after I was done with school. I had people who were encouraging me get a job as a teacher somewhere, which is not bad, right? Get a teaching job, get no matter how little they're paying you. I just did I just have some very weird stomach head. So I just didn't want to do any of that. Right. I was looking for that tech job, and I kept looking. I sent CVs to quite a number of places, and long story short, I was seated in my room once, and I just got an email from a company in Lagos, right? At this time I was still in Zaria. Got an email from a company in Lagos. We are looking for a network engineer, and we got your CV, and we decided to reach out to you. Are you available for interview at so and so dates? I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just jump in. So I traveled from Zaria to Lagos and did the interview. It was a very weird interview, and it shaped a lot of things for me because I sat on the table with the CEO of the company, CEO and co-founder, and then the other founder of the company, whose name I'm not going to mention now, right? And then they kept asking me questions. At the time, I had written my first certification, CCNA, right? And they asked me questions. Do you know this? I mean, they would ask you, do you know this about this technology? This was my response for almost everything. Yeah, I do. Right. Yes, because I did, right? Yeah, I do. And then the next thing they will ask me is, how good are you? And then I'll be like, intermediate level kind of proficiency, right? And then they'll say, all right, no problem, we'll train you, right? And then they ask me the next thing, they went on and on and on like this with maybe like 7 to 8 different technology parts within Cisco, right? Talked about servers, talked about routers, switches. And when they asked me that those things, my response was pretty much the same for every time, every single time, for every single question actually. Um, yeah. So in my head, I thought because I studied really hard for an interview. I mean, the traditional definition of interview I knew was I'll just jump into a place, they'll give you aptitude test, you write that mass mass interview kind of thing. They'll give you aptitude test. That will be the first stage. Next stage, they will bring all of you into a hall, ask some questions, or bring you alone, sit down with someone. They'll start asking you technical things about what's going on or what they expect you to do, and then asking you to provide solutions to their work that they are facing in their organization or something. This was a little different, right? Different. And it was weird, but when I left that place, I heard the other CEO, right? I mean, not CEO, the co-founder, before I left actually, saying, um, what are we waiting for, right? We can just get started already, right? So that gave me some form of, in my head, I'm like, let me say the Nigerian. I don't get job now where I never do interview finish. You get I thought about it like that, but then I also didn't want to jinx it. So I kept that in my head. Right? When I got home about a week later, they sent me an offer saying I could come start with them. It was a very, very, very rewarding experience because it gave me the opportunity to learn most every other thing I know today, right? Just beyond knowing Cisco related stuff. And yeah, so this company had a bunch of servers, just I think they had 13 servers, and they wanted someone to set it up from scratch. And they didn't know what to do, paying Cisco, and they had Cisco servers. They didn't know what to do. Paying Cisco to come in and set it up from scratch would have been really expensive, and they had employed a network engineer. They had employed a network engineer and other network engineers who they had so much faith in, and all of us had never seen those servers. None of us. I mean, we'd never seen any of those servers. And yeah, we walked up to the CEO, dude, we we don't know what to do, right? We will need to get trained. And thanks to one of the guys in the company who was the team lead at the time, he's a very bold person. So he walked up to the CEO, look, we need to get trained. We don't know jack about this thing. They brought someone from India to train us from 5 days training. And then it was a very funny experience because the guy from India came in, finished training us. We took him to the data center to help us set up what he trained us in, right? And the guy got there and got stuck. He didn't know what to do to. So apparently he was a trainer and not a practice person, right? So he left us in the same situation as as we were earlier. And then that put a weird fire in me because looking at that and seeing how, of course, we all respect Indians for having expertise with tech related stuff. But we I didn't know that there were Indians who could be paid as much as we paid those guys, and who would come in and not really they know the book, right? But they just didn't know how to put it to work. So that changed a lot of things for me. I wanted to be able to, I wanted to know everything that I claim I know, right? I wanted to be able to do it. So I went back, and the good thing was these servers were new. There was no risk, right? They didn't have any customer information in it that I could break if I broke the server, right? So I went back, looked for documents online, started to read extensively. I mean, started to read really extensively. And then I'll get up in the morning with the other guys on the team. We were three of us, right? We get up in the morning, drive to the data center. And I mean, by 8 in the morning, be there to like past 9 at night. And the thing with data centers, once you jump in, you don't know what's going on outside. It's really cold, it's bright, it's really cold, not bright, but then the time of the day looks the same, right? The environment. So we'll get up in the morning, go there, sit there, read something in the documentation, try it out on the routers, firewalls, switches, and servers. If we start to work halfway, we realize we missed a step. I'm saying we did this for over a month, right? Every other day apart from Saturday and Sunday. We'll go to the data center, try a new configuration. There are no chairs at the data center too, so you have to sit on the floor or stand, right? So it was a crazy experience, but it was that season in my life that I learned pretty much everything that I know, right? Not everything that I know, but I learned how to approach tech related stuff and how to self-learn, right? Because when we are leaving the data center, some some nights the team lead would speak with me and he was already frustrated, right? Look, let's just tell this man to pay his school to come in and set it up. And he speak with me. When I get to my room, that's those words will keep haunting me in my head. What do these guys know that I cannot find out, right? And Cisco claims the documentation is all over the place. You can just read it and find out, right? So I'll sit down, spend all night. It didn't make things better when the CEO of the company believes in you so much because during your interview you said you have some kind of proficiency. Right, so he will call you at past 2 at night to tell you, I want a mail server set it up. How soon can I get it? And I don't know anything about how to set up a mail server. So I mean, it was just a lot of things happening at the same time. But what I did at the time was prepare myself, right, mentally to just be able, I just was preparing myself to accept any such challenge, right? And then be comfortable with not knowing, right? Be comfortable with not knowing enough to be able to step out to look for information by yourself. Right. So that's one thing I'm grateful to God that that did to me, right? So long story short, we set up this server and everything came up. It was a good experience for us, but then this is another part of the story that I would like you to hear. I'll tie it all up very soon, right? But I'm hitting some touch points so that I can refer back to them. After we got it set up and running, we got back to the office one of the days, and then we were supposed to be celebrated for for making it work. And lo and behold, during the not celebration, it was a meeting, but then we felt proud that we were able to get it to work, and we wanted to come back and tell the company, yeah, we did this. We're expecting some clapping and just some accolades for pulling it off. And at the meeting there, the other co-founder of the organization literally asked us, "Yeah, three of you, what do you even do for this organization?" You understand? And the thing is, the organization had software developers who were really good at what they did, right? And they were waiting on us to set up a server for them to host their software. So those ones, the software guys already could host, do a tiny little server on their computers and host the website they're building, then show a display of it, right, to the CEO and the other co-founder, right? But we didn't have anything to show, which is something else I learned, right? The path that I chose to go, the path that I chose to go in tech, right? It's not the flashy one, right? It's not the one that is on the news every other day for being bringing up new innovations or being the field that there's a new innovation in, right? It is more back end related, right? And there's no way to show a layman what you do. I don't know if you understand what I mean. There's no way for me to tell. I would have to literally take you to the data center and show you a server and tell you this is the device that I'm working on, right? I cannot show you from my laptop that this is what I do. And then even after showing you the device I work on, the only guys who will appreciate what work I'm doing are other tech guys who need my server, right? So it was a really, really weird place. We didn't feel really good, right, that day because, I mean, after putting so much work, we brought in someone from India to train us who didn't train us, who didn't in our heads, right? He didn't train us. And then we figured it out ourselves. We were feeling like the really cool guys in Nigeria because that technology was pretty new, and we searched for people who could train us in Nigeria. We couldn't find before we went to look for someone online from India. Right? Long story short, one thing led to the other. I had to leave the organization, and then I joined another company as a network engineer, and then I joined another company. And this I just want to give you the gist about how what these people look out for in interviews, right? Companies who would hire you. Again, very similar to the first one, the first company I spoke about. The two other companies I joined in Nigeria, right? What they did was I'll jump on a call with maybe the CTO, right? Chief Technical Officer, I think that's what they call them, right? So jump on the call with him, and then he will ask me questions, really generic questions. And what he's looking out for is not what I studied in school. It's not what it's not how I can solve a bug on a software. It's not how I can configure a router or a switch. What he's looking out for is totally different. He's just looking at my problem solving abilities, what I can do, and what I have to say about what I can do, right? So he's not giving me a solution to type code and solve or configure, right? He's just telling me, look, do you understand how this technology works? Yeah, I'll tell him I do, and then he's saying, okay, yeah. So and again, what gives me the confidence to tell him I do is because I actually do, right? So he'll say, so tell me, what have you worked on? And then, of course, the lowest hanging fruit experience wise, again, is a previous company I was coming from. So I'm like, oh, I was in the, and then I tell him my story, right? I was in this company, they had that, they bought a bunch of servers, 13 of them, brought me in, me and some other guys, I was part of the team. When you say that, they feel like, oh, this guy is a team player, right? I was part of a team. We had a team lead. Of course, the team lead led the organization. I became the team lead. So when you say that, it makes you sound like, oh, this guy has some leadership qualities. And then, so it was an interview that was more about, or the two other interviews were actually interviews that were more about what soft skills I had attached to the hard skill I had, right? And how I can, in quotes, sell what I do, right? I remember speaking with my brother-in-law before the interview too, and of course I'll give him credit for that. But one of the things he told me was, "Look, I know you're a very humble person, right? But these people want you to boast about what you know how to do, right? So put all of your experiences together, and it doesn't matter even if it's in a lab, even if it's not in a production environment, if you've never worked in a company, if you're currently taking a course, right? Put all of your experiences together, tie it together, create a reasonable story. Have yourself tell yourself that story a lot, right? So that you can say it if they wake you up from your sleep. And of course, as you get more experience, you keep adding to that story, right? And then be able to talk about it almost everybody would want to have you on their team, right? So of course, it's a different story entirely if you are looking to start your own company. But where I'm coming from is my story, so I'm going to just stay there. So just so I'm sure you can still hear me, because I've been talking alone and I'm not seeing no reaction. So please let me know if I'm on my own or network has cut me off.
Can you
You
hear
are
you,
loud
sir?
and clear.
Okay,
Yeah, we do.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it is,
great.
sir.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah, so long story short, I joined one company, joined the other one, the second one, and then joined the third one in Lagos still. And then the third one, I mean, the country manager for that third company, right, literally told me after I joined that he said, look, the reason and the company had what they did, they're a service company, right? So they needed someone to come in. They had a deal with Google, right? So they needed someone to come in and be that middleman between Google and them, right? So for that role, I would have a Google badge. I'll be like a Google staff, and then I will also have the company's badge, right? So they were looking for someone who had multiple skills, right? Because they also weren't sure what Google was looking for. So they wanted someone who was multi-skilled, so that whatever it was Google needed, the person would be able to quickly learn, adapt, and then jumping into that space opened my eyes to a lot of things because I got insight into how Google works and how most tech giants approach innovation and growth, right? And then I also saw, because this company is also a tech giant in Nigeria, right? And I'm not going to mention their name. I also saw that they also had certain processes internally. They're multinational, right? They also had certain processes internally that that taught me a lot of things about workplace politics, workplace is it etiquette? I think that's the word. I'm not sure. But then I learned so much from that place. But one thing I wanted to point out is and I approached the interview for that role, right? It was a technical operations manager role, right? I approached that interview the same exact way as I approached every other thing, right? And by the time I tell you how many years I've been in tech and how suddenly I I was in late 2022, early 2023, I was already in a manager role, which is just very weird, right? If I tell you that my tech journey started in 2019, right, it might not make sense to you. So yeah, of course I'd been studying tech stuff, but then I mean entering into tech and working. That first company I spoke about, I I think I started work with them in 2019, right? So yeah, so I got into this final company before I'm where I am right now, and one of the things that the country manager for that company told me is, Jacob, let me tell you why we hired you, right? During the interview, every other candidate came on board to tell me how to configure a router and a switch and how to, just kept boring me, right, with tech jargon, right? Just kept talking to me about, they were just saying all high, low level tech stuff, right? And he said, but you spoke to me about you spoke to me like someone who wanted to tell me, who didn't know anything about tech, what tech does, right? So he said, I didn't hear you mention anything about OSPF routing protocol, because you understood that when it's a technical interview, they would ask you that and you would know it, right? If it's a manager's interview, you know what to leave out of the mix in your answer. When it's at a HR interview, you know the kind of things to say, right? And not coming talking about how to, break set up a server or something. So it That's what he told me. You were able to read the room and then know. I mean, this guy literally asked me in my interview with him, what's the most recent book you've read? And, and I said, oh, let me think about it, right? And he kept quiet. The thing is, these guys also want you to be yourself, right? When you're in an interview with them. And I know that because I actually did some, when I became team lead in the other company, I did interview for quite a number of people. And I saw people trying to, and I saw people try not being themselves in a way that I knew they were not themselves, right? I mean, we already know you don't know what we're hiring you to come and do, right? Just be honest with what you know. We are going to train you. You get so a large number of them already know you don't know what they're bringing you in for. So what they want to see from you is what your approach towards learning is, right? What you already know, can you talk about it? And then just have soft skills, have common sense, be able to work as a team, be able to interact with people, have good command of English, and all of those really cool stuff. So he literally told me that, and that again pointed me to something else, right? And it was really helpful for the next interview I did to join Cisco, right? Cisco, being a Cisco guy had always been my dream, right? And I was with this new company, this Google contract company, right? I was with them for 6 months, right? And I was just on LinkedIn, which is another thing. For every time I change a job, I go on LinkedIn. What am I currently doing? Right? It will be a good idea for everyone to do that. What am I currently doing? If you're learning, put it there that you're learning. Put what skills you're learning right now. Right? I mean, there are people who are looking for interns every day. Right? There are people who are looking for staff every day, right? And there's a role in tech called tech recruiter, right? And I'm going to talk about them because that's how I joined Cisco, right? The company hires them to go out and look for talents for them, right? So beyond just sending out your CV to companies and hoping that they'll call you, right? There are people scouting for, as long as you have the skills, right? There are people actively scouting for you, and they'll reach out to you to ask you if you're available for certain opportunities. So when I joined this company, I went online, I went on LinkedIn, put in my details, what I'm currently doing. Of course, bearing in mind the non-disclosure agreements, so you know what information not to put out. I went on LinkedIn, put that I'm good with this, I do this. What am I doing with Google right now? I put all of that. What am I doing with the other company? I put all of that, right? All of that under the skills that I have. I believe if you go on LinkedIn and look me up, you would see exactly what I'm talking about. And then the moment I'm done doing that, weirdly, I just was, I mean, randomly, I was just seated, I think at the office one of the days, waiting to go to the data center to do stuff for Google. And I saw a message from someone on LinkedIn saying, "Hi, are you available for this role? This." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I am." Meanwhile, this had happened before, right? Asking me if I was available for a role, and then I said, "Oh, yes, I am." And the person said, "Look, I saw your LinkedIn profile, and I'm I'm interested in what I see, right? There's this role somewhere in Lisbon that looks like is similar to what your profile says about you, right? I just searched on LinkedIn and your stuff came up, and I'm reaching out to you. So I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I'm up. And of course, she told me it was a role not in Nigeria. So if I'm available for it, if I'm available to relocate. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm a Nigerian. So long story short, they organized. So this was a little different, right? Because they had three, is of course is a very big company, so they had like 3 to 4 stages of interviews, right? And I had to do a technical interview, which took quite a lot of time, right? It took a long time to schedule. We kept going back and forth. And the good thing is they literally asked me, look, pick your time for your technical interview, right? And I mean, the recruiter actually advised me, wait, don't schedule your technical interview for the next two weeks. If you need 3 weeks, fine, we can give it to you, right? I can push other interviews. There's the manager interview, there's the HR interview, which is with the recruiter herself, and then so I did two technical interviews actually, which is where they actually it was a very difficult one because it's a big company, so they set up a what's it called? So, and that's where you get to prove that you know what you said you know, right? So beyond just lying on your CV, beyond just lying on your CV, you need to know what you're doing, and that's why I'm like, look, for everything you say you know on your CV, even if you don't have a company that has employed you to do it before, look, if it's for free, look for a place where they are doing it and try to do it so you can say that you did it even if it was for free, right? That's what I'm trying to say. And I literally, when they were asking me things like, oh, when I mean, for the technical interview, and this is where it feels like a miracle to me, because for the technical interview, right? You remember the first interview I told you I had where I went to the company and then they're asking, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, how good are you? I'm like, intermediate level proficiency, but I'm willing to learn, right? I always had that to the mix, right? I know, but I can learn it. I mean, there's so much information on the internet right now. I can. If you need someone to do that, I can pretty much go online and figure out how to do it, and which is what I did almost all of my stay in that first company, right? This other company, this one I mean right now, when I did an interview with them, they're asking me, I mean technical interview, right? They're asking me, so can you do this? How do you do this? Listen, for over 60% of the questions they asked me, right? This was my response. Even though it was a technical interview and it was really difficult and I was expected to kill it and break everything down for them, right? So they would to impress them. This was this was my response. And it was an honest one. I wasn't going to lie to fellow human beings, right? Because I mean human beings. So I just decided, look, this is what you're asking me is not what I'm currently doing in my organization. I know how it works, but I cannot remember. And then I had a paper and I had a pen and a paper with me, right? And then for everyone, I told them before they started asking me questions, I said, please, is it fine if for every question you ask me and I don't know and I need to look up, can I write it down so I can check it later? Right. That said so much to them, right? For some reason, they just felt like, this dude is an asset because and at the end of the interview, this is what the guy who's currently my technical leader actually, because the people who interviewed me are the people who I'm working with right now, right? And then he was telling me, look, what we were checking you for, what we were testing you for, was not to find out if you knew everything. We were trying to see if you knew how to look for information when you don't have it. And then we were trying to see if you were comfortable with ambiguity, right? I mean, just comfortable with not knowing something. You understand? Don't The fact that you don't know it does not mean that the whole world should come down and you are finished, right? The good thing is information is out there. Do you know how to look for answers, right? So, and he's telling me, look, even us at work, most of the issues we face, we go on Google to search for answers, right? We don't have a what's it called? We don't have a we don't have a brain that holds all the information, right? So, long story short, I am certain to should be on my time. So let me put it all together right now. Yeah, so things I've learned along the way, right? And I'll try to be as I'll just remind you of the part of the story that points to this, right? First, learn how to learn, right? A lot of things are changing really fast, and I believe Ona spoke about it earlier, where he was saying, look, by the time you're done with your university degree, most of what you most of what you learned, most of what you're teaching in final year, when you were in 100 level, by the time you are in 400 level, if it's a 4-year course you did, it would no longer be relevant, right? Even if what they start teaching you today is what's relevant today, which is not the case in Nigerian universities, right? In the next 5 years, most of what they have to say about what, or next 4 years, most of what they have to say about what you're learning might not be relevant. That's one. So learn how to learn for yourself, right? If you need motivation to learn, or you need someone to drive you, I don't know if the tech space is for you. It can be for you if you have that dedicated person in your life who would keep driving you. Have I been not depressed? I think the word is discouraged. Yes, sometimes yes, but I have friends, really close friends, who the moment I mean I can start to, I think maybe there are very few people in my life like that who are confident enough to tell, look, I don't know if this thing is not really, I'm not really feeling this thing, or I'm not sure what technology path to go to follow, right? And then those people will just tell me, and you can just tell me, look, you said you wanted to do this so and so time, right? Or so and so, how many years ago? What changed your mind? Get me to sit down and think about what I opened my mouth and or goals that I set for myself, right? And then those can really keep me going. And I'm not saying that there are no times that you feel like that, but at the same time, I'm saying that you need to, beyond depending on people to drive you, you need to be able to drive yourself. Know how you learn, and know how you learn, and then know how to look for information that would be beneficial. Now, tying this up with how what's going on right now in the world, right? The truth is, from statistics, right? Between 80 to 85% of jobs that will exist in 2030, right, have not yet been created. They're not even created yet, right? And when you look at it, it makes common sense, because I mean, Uber was founded in, when, I think, 2009. That's about how many years ago? In 2019, 10 years, and then 25 years, 15 years ago, right? Yeah, and see Uber, how global it is. In year 2000, right? If anybody said that there'll be a company that would hire you and you'll be driving their cars around your own country, right? But you never meet the owner of the company, nobody would believe that, right? Bolt is even worse. Yeah, I think they were founded in 2013. YouTube, and a lot of people have YouTube channels. There are people, I know a tech guy who quit his job just to do YouTube because he's making so much money off YouTube. YouTube was founded in 2005, I believe. Yeah. Then, I mean, we can go on and on. In Nigeria, Flutterwave, 2016. 2016 here, that's less than 10 years ago, right? Flutterwave was founded, and look at how much they've done. TikTok was also founded in 2016. People are making so much money off TikTok. I mean, new technologies popping up every day, new programming languages, new applications. So things are happening really fast, and you have to be driven enough by yourself, right, to constantly learn, relearn, unlearn, and then learn again. Yeah, that's, I think the other thing I was going to say is, um, yes, regarding this whole learning conversation, right? For me, right, and if this can be unique, it can be a you thing, right? I'm not going to shove down how my work is in everybody's throat and let them accept it. But I'm just saying, for me, the goal is not to learn what is hot, right? What's hot in the market, what's going on, what's AI is the hot thing now, and then I'll just leave everything I'm doing and start to learn AI, and that's not how it works for me, right? If that's how it works for you, we thank God for you. Uh, um, but it's not to jump into what's hot and start to learn it, which is not bad, right? But for me, what I do is I look at what's hot and then what is driving what is hot, right? That's is on that is in that space that I make up my mind what the next thing I want to learn is, right? So for example, I knew at the time I wanted what I do right now is data center related, right? But at the time I wanted to do data center stuff, I what was hot was cloud, right? Everybody's moving their infrastructure to the cloud. Everybody's doing cloud. I mean, and then people start talking about no, leave on premise alone. Nobody cares about on premise. But then I sat down and started to think, what are the components of cloud? And I realized that cloud is built on data centers, right? So if Azure or AWS wants to set up a what's that thing called? Oh my god, there's a name for it, an availability zone, I think so, in Nigeria, right? What they'll do is they'll come in and they AWS or Azure will not come in. They can do it, come in and build their own data center, but they can come to a data center in Nigeria, in Lagos, go to Abuja, and then have different fault domains at one at Abuja, one at Lagos, go to a data center, go to data centers there, ask them, oh, they want to partner with you guys, we'll use you guys as one of our cloud touch points. Just that's how they do it pretty much. So I realized that no, data centers are not going anywhere. So yeah, people will use the cloud, right? But then there's something power in the cloud, and people will always need companies who are cloud related will always need people to work in their data centers. So, and when I started learning data center, I didn't start to learn data center because I wanted to work in data center. I just wanted to know how it worked, right? And then for some reason, everything about my life started to go that direction. And that's where I was saying earlier, if you desire it enough, remember when I said everybody kept giving me advice on what to do, and I just didn't want to jump into just anything because I wanted to make money, right? I decided I wanted to do tech, and I desired it so much. I'm just saying, if you desire it enough and then start to get information about it, it will shock you how what you need to be a success in that space would start to come your way, right? Just as fast as possible. Yeah, then of course we know life rewards consistency. So whatever it is you start, try to finish it, right? If you if and this is very important, and it's because I've heard it a lot in recent times. Now what's the choice of career that I should take? What should I choose to do? Cloud, AI, programming, networking, data analysis, science, engineering, in that space, data analytics space, right? And my answer to that would be learn all, right? And it doesn't make sense, but that's my answer. Learn all, but just start with one, right? Don't start learning everything all at the same time. Start with one, then have a plan, a future plan on how to learn every other thing. The world we're in today, driven by AI, you need to have multiple skills, right? And if you're jumping into tech, it's not like university where you go to study a course for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and then when you're done with your schooling, you are done learning. You just start to look for how to practice, right? That's not how it works. If you are not willing to read for the rest of your life and keep upskilling and upscaling what you're doing, right? You are not ready for tech. You'll be left. You will be like the guy I mean, in no time you'll be like the guy who just only went to university. That's what I'm trying to say. So you need to keep learning consistently, right? Now back to what I was saying. If you are going to ask what the choice of technology to focus on is, tech, cloud, AI, programming, networking, all of that. Yes, learn all, but choose one, right? Start from somewhere. Get enough proficiency in that one, and then have a reasonable, realistic learning plan. If money drives you to do this thing, you might get the money, but you might hate yourself at the end of the day. So just is a good place to start to be choose one, learn it because you like it, right? And yeah, what informs the choice of what drives me? That there's a lot of things that can inform it, and that's why I'm trying not to put any hard rules for anybody, right? For some people, it's passion, right? I feel like doing this. I really love tech, and some other people it's urgency. Look, I need it's needful. I need a new job, and for some it's adventure. I like what I'm doing, but I want to just see what's going on. For some is money. Whichever one is not, none is bad, right? But I'm just saying, know where you are, decide which one of these fields you want to jump into, and it doesn't matter if it's hot or not, because the foundation of most of these things would remain, right? Find out what tech field has a very strong, what has been existing in tech for the last 20 years, right? If you are unsure what to jump into, start with that. And I'm not saying look for a company that will train you and ask you to pay millions of dollars to take a training in that. There are YouTube videos. Just start to read about that, find out about that, watch videos about that. It will go a long way. It will help you shape your choice, right, and make the right choice. And yeah, and then the last thing I was going to say is the question about whether AI is going to take people's job away, right, from them is a conversation that can only be completed when AI takes the job, right? So the thing is, the people who but one thing I know is AI has come to change the way we work, right? So you need to learn to adapt to use AI. So whether you want to be one of the guys who are developing the AI tools, right? Or you want to be one of the guys who will be using the AI tools with the tools they already have to make their work better. I mean, whichever way it is, whichever one it is, just make sure that you're using AI for everything, because you are going to be really valuable in the future. My company right now, we're working, the goal for a lot of what we do is how to automate and then make sure we're having less human interaction in repetitive tasks, right? So, and we're leveraging the power of AI massively. So I'm just saying that, and I'm a part of that company for my company. Sorry, part of that campaign for my company. And I'm just saying that I see how things are moving even amongst tech giants. And I mean, there's so many webinars that were done. What do they call those things? Done this year alone. I planned to attend one, but I couldn't. Just this year alone, within this January, right? There's so many that have happened that are just AI related. Right. So I'm not saying learn to develop AI, but just find out how to use ChatGPT to do what you already do, right? Find out how to use ChatGPT to find information, how to use Google, because Google has an AI that is with the Google search engine. Find out how to tweak it. I've heard people get employed just because they know how to use Google, right? Just have really, really cool skills that, and one thing that wouldn't go away with AI, right? And even if it will take a long time. Soft skills, right? Get soft skills, and that's where I kept coming from with interview stories I've given earlier. Get soft skills, things that AI will not replace. Creativity, AI cannot create yet, right? Even if it will, it's not now, right? It won't create, it won't replace creativity, it won't even replace collaboration. People will always want to interact with each other, even if it won't replace communication, right? So companies will hire people just because, I mean, in the future, and you can write it down, it will show up. Companies will hire people they hire engineers just to come in and manage people's emotions, not to, not because the technical part of things will be sorted, and then it will just be they'll be hiring people because they want to make their customers feel good or their clients feel good, and people need human interactions. I mean, agriculture will be there for a long time, so AI will not take that. So I mean, there's just so much that will be there, right? just saying it in the tech space, learn how to use AI, and those people who learn how to use AI would always be relevant. Yeah, that's pretty much all from me today. And sorry I took a large part of your time, and I'm done. Thanks for listening to me. Oh, I see. Applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. This was really powerful and impactful. Thank you very much. Please, if you have questions,
Hey,
general questions, you could. Yes, we can hear you, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Okay, can you all hear me though?
Yes, we can, sir.
yes, yes, we are
Were
hearing
you
you. We are
talking
hearing
to
you.
me?
Okay, no, not you though. Not you.
Okay, okay.
All right, so I was saying, if we have questions about anything that has been said, I think we've already taken a lot of time already. I won't go back to reiterate everything, but I think one of the important things that you should take home from this is, um, first off, you need to be very, very honest. Secondly, you need to learn how to learn. Thirdly, for the things that you know, you need to be very confident about the things that you know. Talking about interviews now, you should be confident about the things that you know. If they ask you A and you're not sure about how A works, then you should tell them, oh, I'm not very sure about how A works, but I know B and I've done this around B and all of that. And pretty much just get the interaction up and running. And soft skills are really important too. These videos are going to be available for you to rewatch again and again on the YouTube channel. But should you have any questions right now, you could just maybe drop a message in the comment section. And if you really want to express yourself, you could raise your hand and maybe speak up. Okay. So, do we have questions so far? Thank you very much, Jakes. Thank you so much. This is
Oh,
this
thanks
is
for
top
having me
notch.
here. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes,
I
boss.
really appreciate it.
Mhm. Thank you for your time. All right. Do we have any
Yes.
questions?
It's me that go back. Mm.
All right. In the absence of any questions, we're going to be. All right. So we have a question from Mr. Jerry here. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Hello, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, please bring it up.
Uh, my question is, if someone is new in tech and he wants to be, as in the person want to keep his skills up to date, so in which direction would that person look for information? Like, since we have like AI is being currently trading now, then for example, what are the actual information required for that particular field, or let me say direction? So if someone like he's into data center, so there are some skills that are very relevant in data center, while there are some skills that are not that relevant. Just like there are some skills that are being dropped that are not being used, and there are some skills that are being upgraded. So how will you look for such information?
Hmm. Thank you very much. Thanks for the call out, Jerry. It's good to hear your voice again. Um, yes, so uh, this is like one of the most difficult questions I've had to answer in. I mean, I've had to answer these kind of questions a lot, right? And it's one of the most difficult to answer. My advice would be, right, for someone who's already working, right, um, I mean, working in tech. If you're already working in tech and you're just being hyped about the buzz of AI, right? A good place to start would be just try to see how AI works. I mean, try to use it, right? And that can drive you to know if your niche is if your niche is developing AI tools or your niche is learning to use AI to do what you already do, right? But if you're totally new to tech and you're hearing AI all over the place and you feel like you want to jump into AI, right, to start to do AI, right? It's not bad, right? But I believe personally that there are certain foundational skills that some people need, even if it's a month or two courses, right? Sorry, a month or two taking certain courses that are not specifically AI, right? But then that would help strengthen. I mean, learn software development, learn a programming language that now you don't need to be an expert in it. Just learn it enough to know what it does or what a line of code might do if you see it, right? And then you can jump fully into doing your AI stuff. But that's my attempt to answer Jerry's question. But then again, if you're new into if you're new into tech and you don't know where to go, you're not sure where to start, you don't even know if AI is a thing, right? If that's where you are, I'll say just there, and this is what I do to a lot of people, right? I'll just send you YouTube videos, maybe five or three or four of them, right? What is cloud computing, right? You look for the most basic explanation of that. Check on YouTube, you would find someone talking about it. Understand what happens there. What is networking? What is software development? And of course, that in that space, there's so many things. There's back end, there's front end, there's web development, there's mobile application development, there's whatever it is. Just search on YouTube, and it's a good starting point. Search on YouTube. I'm not saying search for a course, right? Search for information. Search for videos of people talking about what, and these videos, there might be people who will give you wrong info, but then there are really genuine guys. You would know what is right when you hear multiple people talk about the same thing, right? And then you can follow their track record. So there's no easy way to do it. You just need to maybe go on YouTube, search for a topic, what someone has to say about it. For me personally, if I have a certification exam to write, one of the first things I do is I go on YouTube and just search people's experiences while they took the exam, right? Has anybody done a video and talked about it, right? And then I just watch so that I'll prepare my head mentally. And most times they give you tips on how to prepare for the exams, and pretty much it's the same thing that happens when you want to pick a choice of career. But for me, if I was to start all over again, where I would start again, I will still do networking because it gave me a foundation for everything, and then I'll jump from that. I might not do beyond a CCNA if I don't know what I want to do. I know what I want to do, so right now. I know what I want to do, so I'm going all the way, right? But if I'm a total newbie and I'm not sure what I want to do, I'll probably do a CCNA first, then jump into the cloud. And then there's so many opportunities in data analytics and data science, data engineering, right? In that space, right? So if you're that guy who really is data driven, because data is like fuel right now, right? It's really important, and it doesn't matter either data as information or data as data bundle, whichever one it is you are dealing with. It's really important. Companies can kill to have data scientists, right? So I'm saying if you're that guy, it's very needful. It's a hot field too. It's just I told you earlier, I don't just do things because they're hot, right? So I know data science, I know how it works. I'm not an expert in that space. And of course, if you need information on what to do regarding data related stuff, you have educator here. Like, there's so much information you can give. Yeah, so I mean, it's not difficult. It's just you need to be ready to put in the work to find out what you really want to. Well, I'm not sure that I'm that much of an authority to tell anybody, look, go into cloud computing. That is what you need to be doing. Right? Yeah, so that's why I say that's like the most difficult question I've had to answer in the last 2 years. Yeah, I see another hand raised.
Yeah, hi.
Daniele,
Good
hi,
evening.
good evening,
Yes.
welcome.
Okay. Thank you. So, I have two questions actually. The first one has to do with implementation. For someone who has started with tech, I find it a bit difficult to explore these skills I've gotten from theory. So what I'm saying is you have so many platforms that teach you what you should know by theory. When it comes to implementations, you become I don't want to say dumb, but then you're not familiar with what you should do because there aren't many platforms that give you that opportunity to implement what you have actually learned. So, for example, you have cybersecurity and you have things you learn. You have um, things you learn about threats, and you have tools you should use to mitigate these threats. And
Hmm.
these things exist, but when it comes to implementing them, it's difficult because what you have is theory, and then you don't have where you can get hands-on experience prior to getting
Yeah,
a job. Because, of course, you don't just start a program and finish it and then expect to have a job, which is something I know Jacob touched. And I think it's something that I feel we should talk about a lot because many people go into tech with the idea that you just get a job immediately. It really doesn't necessarily happen
yeah,
like that.
true,
So, but my
true.
question still stays on the fact of on the place of implementation. How do I implement these skills that I have learned so much about via reading? And then it also goes to Educator as a learning platform. If I didn't really join early, so I didn't necessarily hear everything, but I've heard most of what you're offering, which is equally say the theory aspect of things. And I'm just saying, is there a part where you bring an environment where one can actually try out these skills? That's the first one, the first question. I don't know if you understand me.
Yeah, yeah, I do, but maybe you
Okay.
can ask both
So
so
the
we
second,
can attempt to.
Yeah,
okay, okay.
well, we
So
hear, I
the
got that,
second
yeah.
question, okay, okay. So the second question is about exams.
Hmm.
So passing exams. You have a learning platform, you read, but we know that most times, especially for people who have started tech, when you start to read, there are mostly what they ask you in the exams are usually details, and then outside it just being details, you there are times that is specific. So you have specific questions that you know could come out in an exam, you know specific questions that would not come out in exams. You even have knowledge that is actually just general knowledge and you don't have to dwell on it. You have knowledge that you would use eventually, maybe when you get a job or when you choose to use your certificate for something else and you're in a live environment. So my question is, how do you study for an exam in tech? Because it's actually not the regular school kind of
Hmm.
questions, like for most of us who are graduates from a regular Nigerian university. And if you're not one who takes many online exams, you would find it a little bit difficult to understand how to actually go and answer questions, even though most of them are questions that have objectives. But then knowing what to study for an exam, knowing that these are areas that an exam would need. I know you touched on the area of Jacob touched on an area of YouTube, using YouTube to look at questions. But do we have sites that actually have um say questions, past questions that you can go on, check prior to an exam? And would Educator also be providing some of these um solutions to when you want to take an exam or a test? So those are my major questions. Thank you.
Hmm. Thanks so much, Danelli. And it's good to hear your voice again too. I was going to I mean the questions you guys have asked this evening are really good questions. I mean really amazing questions. I'm happy those are questions that I asked, right? And I wish that of course educator will speak, right? But then I wish that the opportunities in tech. When people say things like there are opportunities in tech, right? I wish things were slightly different, right? I wish, for example, you gave an example with the cybersecurity space, right? I think I know a little bit about what happens in that space. If the cybersecurity space, and it's in a hot cake right now, right? But the cybersecurity is hot when you are doing it, right? It's not fun when you're just learning it, right? And I understand that it can be really depressing when you are reading and reading and reading. But I believe there are companies who have trainings, right? I think Educator also has cybersecurity package, right? Who can guide you and then walk you through how to identify threats, how to do what do they call it, threat analysis, right? And then come up with a there's a word for that thing I can't remember. That thing you write after something has happened, and then you have to write what happened, the impact statement, and all of those things. Those things cybersecurity
An
people do.
incident report.
Incident report, correct. Thank you. So there are platforms where you can learn to do that. I know that Google runs a course, right? And I think that season that it is pretty much free. I know Educator also has a package that would probably deal with that. So yeah, for me that's what I'll say. For networking, you can pretty much go to authorities like Cisco and Juniper. For what's it called, what else, programming. I mean, there are a lot of for if you want to learn to program in a programming language, sorry, with a programming language, right? You can pretty much go to, I learned Python from YouTube. That's what I'm trying to say. You can go on YouTube and just search for Python web dev, as long as you know exactly what you want to do with it, right? Python web development course. You can go there and write it, right? Same thing, even networking. I have videos that I recommend to a lot of guys I know who are jumping into networking. What else? Yeah. There are platforms, and regarding the exam thing you asked too, you can just, what I did when I started to take certifications with Cisco, right? I would go online and just search for. I mean, my first Cisco certification, I didn't have. There's this thing they call DOMS, and I don't know. I didn't have DOMS, right? And I didn't have money to buy, so I
Yeah,
went
dumps.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. I went online and then just started to search randomly for websites that people just come online and post questions about this particular certification. It can be 10 questions, it can be 20 questions, and then I mean, the exam can have maybe 100 questions. But in my head, I feel like just 10, by the time I do that for, I visit 15 different websites that give me 10 questions each. I'll pretty much have a grasp of what's going on in that exam and the kind of questions they'll be asking. Is, again, like I said, it's not an easy thing to do. You can get annoyed. Why do I have to do this? I mean, but it's the price you get to pay. It's I mean, I kept emphasizing on learning how to look for information. That feels like that's the hardest part of whatever it is you're doing with tech, right? And I believe, for, again, we have Educator here, right? And it might be a good starting point, because I know the instructors there can really guide a large number of people who would want to jump into any field in tech, even if it's not a package the Educator is currently offering, but they can guide you on where to go, what direction to go. Yeah, that would be it from me. I don't know if that answered your question, Daniele, but I'll let
Yes, it did. Thank
Educator
you.
take it from there too. And really good question, really good call out too. Thanks.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Jakes. Thank you very much. I think these questions are really important, and there are a few things I have to say. First off, you talked about implementation of the skills you learn. Like, after learning the skills, is there somewhere you go to implement these skills? I think one of the things that affects one of the things that affects people who are entering into tech initially, right, is that you get to look down on what you already know, like what you've been taught a lot. Like a lot of people entering into tech, they look down on what they've already been taught because it's not a job. So they'd
Yep,
rather
you're
just,
correct.
yeah, yeah. So they feel like the deep thing is in a job and everything they've learned is theory, like that. In November, September, also in September we had like a total practical class on Power BI. In November we had on SQL, like free class, 1 month free class on our community. I'm just going to drop the link to the community in case you just want to be part of our community. So part of the things, I think there's someone here. Ugoma, are you here? IJ.
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Yes, Ugoma is here. After the free training for SQL that we did in November, she could have taken it to just say, this is like this is just purely theory. Do you get, because it wasn't a job that was being offered. But I think after that period, she wrote an exams on Azure with Microsoft. And as we speak right now, Ugoma is Microsoft certified, and she's a Microsoft certified associate. And the good thing about this is when she was going to put it up on LinkedIn, she tagged educator, and then she said this that no, I think she messaged me and said, "Oh, I just got certified, and thank you very much for the class that you held. Some of the things that you treated helped me to answer the questions and all of that." So it means that this is seeing the value of what you've learned and all of that. Most times when you get into the real job experience and all, like Jacob's experience has already shown us here, that most times when you get into the real job, it won't so much be about what you already know. It's going to be about other things you get apart from what you've already know. Of course, you're expected to bring your own experience to the table. Let me share my own experience briefly. When I was going to bug into tech after taking course and all of that, like courses and all of that, I still felt very, very inadequate. Like I didn't feel like I was job worthy. I didn't feel like anything. So I applied for volunteer. I started writing different companies in Abuja just to volunteer with them. And when I got the first offer on being a volunteer, they asked me, "Oh, do you know this?" Like the same way they asked, like, do you know how to analyze data in Python? Yes. What's your competency level on a scale of 10? 6. Do you know SQL? Yes. What's your competency level? Power BI, Excel. And they were just asking these questions like, what's your competence level? What's your competence? But do you know what I realized? I realized that having learned, entering into that company as a as someone who's supposed to be like a volunteer with little or no
Yeah,
experience at all, entering into that company, I was almost more qualified than some people even that were already working there as full staff. Like I came in, I was even like, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, basically. Because when I went there, they were like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll train you in your first month. We're going to train you. Then maybe from your second month, then we'll allow you to take us on tasks and all of that." On that day, when I was resuming the office like this, they gave me some data that I should analyze. While I was analyzing, that's how people were just, everybody was just passing the, like they were sneaking at my screen, trying to pick on what I was doing, pretty much and stuff. Do you know? I was feeling intimidated. Like, I hope I'm not doing rubbish, or I'm not even sure what I'm doing. Blah 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 blah. But at the end of that analysis, the next day like this, I started handling clients. Like from the next day I started handling real job and stuff. So, and a lot of times I just discovered that a lot of the things that experience changed my perspective about tech. And that's the reason why most times our programs, currently we have two programs coming up: data analysis internship and the cybersecurity internship. Our programs, we try to, as much as possible, you remember when I said making learning personal, we try to bring these things to your, like break these things down and help you to understand the foundational, like how Jacob put it, the driving logic behind all of these things and how this works, and then build you up to the advance. At the end of this training, we don't expect that you step out there and you are saying, "Oh, you've never had any experience." Because for each project you're building, capstone project, it depends on how you perceive it. What you see yourself doing is assessment, you're just doing practical, they're just showing you how to do this and all of that. On the other hand, how, like, how you're supposed to think of yourself is that, "Oh, I built this." or I
Correct.
built that,
You
and I
you
was
would
able to
document
build this.
everything you
Exactly,
do
document it. If
and
you worked on a
have a
software, on a
portfolio
report,
for it. Yeah.
exactly, if you worked on that, you're like, even if it was an assessment, it's supposed to be that, oh, I built stuff from this point to that point, I built stuff from that point to that point. Like, this was how I went about the process, from collecting, from, like, for instance, if you're a data analyst now, from collecting the data, connecting to the data source, which was a CSV file. Like, do you understand? Like, cleaning the data using Power Query, this and that. Like, you're able to walk somebody, like Elon Musk says something. How you know that you know it is that you can explain every part of it, like every single particle of it. If you build a report, then you know how you built this report, and that counts for experience. So I think from the aspect of implementation, I'm just going to say that, um, I'm going to say that a lot of times, and that's the reason why sometimes it's difficult to even get jobs too, like as beginners, because a lot of times we don't count the things we've learned as experience. We just count them as theories, and we are looking for a job to give us practice. In fact, let me tell you one fact. Like in my field, like I'm talking about data now. Once you're done completing this course, you can step into a job, and what you be required, what in fact maybe what you be required to be using every day on that job will be less than 30% of everything that you learned. Like the full stack data analysis, now you get to learn Power BI, Excel, SQL, Python. At the end of the day, you might just get a job that all it requires you to use is a few codes in SQL and Excel as a data analyst. You wouldn't even have to use Python or the other skills, or Power BI even. Other times you might be required to use Power BI, SQL, and you may never even touch Python all throughout your career even. But as much as possible, we try to give as much as possible so you can be confident in yourself. So confidence is really like it's a skill that no one should look down on as beginners. Then secondly, talking about exams, how do you get into exams? See, I think it's very, very imperative to know that even though every knowledge is available online, the order in which you get to learn it and how you get to work up the career, you might need a guide for that. Like, you don't, like, yes, you can access everything that you need on YouTube, that you need to know on YouTube, but the community that you are around is very, very important too. Okay, so let me explain this using my own experience. A lot of what I learned as a beginner in the field of data, it was through courses. Like, if you go to my Udemy account, I have a stacks of courses that I took on Udemy and all of that. But I didn't even know where to start from. I didn't even know nothing. I didn't know nothing until I started meeting people in this field. That's when I started realizing that there were such things as exam dumps. That's when I started realizing that, oh, there were orders in which these things should be learned. That's when I started realizing that, oh, there are some, like, this is how you can register on, like, a, like, how do I put it? Like, this is how you can register for your exams and all that, and this is the kind of exams that you need. Right now, for instance, like, I already know my path. First off, MCA, which I've already gotten. Next off is MCT, and I don't even care. Next off, MVP. Like, I wouldn't have known that these are the orders in which, because some of this information are not just available word for word online. Okay, so they're not just available like that until you start meeting people who do the same thing that you do. And that's the reason why, even though you know what you already know, for the sake of community, you should at least try and maybe be somewhere where people are doing the same thing, or maybe be somewhere where someone is walking you through this process, or maybe learning under someone. It's very, very important, because there's some vital information that you cannot just get on YouTube. You won't even know that you even need, because the most difficult information to search out for is information that you don't even know you need. So most times you might be thinking you need the technical skill. So you search for how to do this, how to Python beginners, Python this, Python that. But the experience of that person, see what our speaker did today. He took us through his own personal experience. And I believe that a lot of us have been touched through that experience. And we already know how we can at least take one or two steps to advance our careers. So that personal experience, a lot of times you will not get that thing directed to you from all of this online content. And that's the reason why, even though all of these things that we teach can be found online, that's the reason why we still can build businesses around them. That's the reason why all companies like us still exist and it's still thriving. So I think I've done justice to that question. If you have any other question, the link to our community is here on the comment section. Okay, so you can just join our online community where we offer support and mentorship. Like if you have questions, you could ask on the group, and people will answer you. People who have gone ahead, people who are working in the field, they could tell you what to do and all of that. So if you're not on the group already, you could use this link and just join our communities for further question. There on that community, I'll also be accessible. All right. I think we've done great tonight. Are we together? Are we good? Hello? Can you all hear me? Or we've all slept off?
Yes, sir, we can, sir.
All right. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we can
Thank you
hear
very
you.
much. Yeah, awesome. 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 All right. So for joining TechUp 1.0. In February, the last Saturday of every month, we'll be holding this series where we'll be bringing veterans in the field, experts in the industries, to come and be talking to us and be sharing their experience with us. Like, you see how impactful this is. Looking forward to the last Saturday of February again for another session, and of March, and we keep going, and hopefully we keep going that way also for years. Thank you very much for joining this. I'm really grateful, every one of you. Okay, so who do we have here? Abe Samuel, class rep, Ms. Bolanle. We have both SMS Incorporation, Engineer AS, Maranatha, Jerry. Thank you for joining. Johnson. We have Micah, Josephine, Temi Tokwe. Temi, it's nice to see you. Samuel, Mr. Samuel, it's nice to have you here. Rhoda, welcome. Williams, Patrick, Paul, Pastor Babalola, I hail you, sir. Sir James, Ugoma, it's always nice to have you around. Yipa, thank you very much for joining this. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in learning one or two programs, you can just DM, join the community DM, or you can follow our social media handles at EducatorNG, whether Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you go to, it's still EducatorNG at EducatorNG. So you can follow up us there, chat us on any of our media channels, and we are willing to talk to you and willing to help in any way that we can. Our upcoming programs are data analysis internship program and data analysis internship program and cybersecurity internship program. And I'd like you to know that part of the things that how we intend to help you in your career field is that we intend to officially employ you as a company, as an intern, so that you can legally put these things on your CV that you worked with us within these programs. And we are willing to also go ahead to make you build as much projects as possible to help you get grounded experience around all the tools that you're willing to learn, that you're going to be learning in all of our packages, so that when you are leaving, we can also, where necessary, when needed, also we can also give you letters of recommendations to either further employers or maybe for your school, JAPA, or whatever it is. So this is this is a good deal for every one of us. And if you have not registered yet, kindly also contact and let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here. Then anyone who wants to, if you have any questions, you can just maybe hold on the call so that we can have one or two interactions and stuff. So for now, officially, we are calling TechUp 1.0 a success. Thank you, everybody, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Babalola. Thank you very much.
Very much. You're
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.